Well, welcome to our Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. It's intended especially for solopreneurs. And this morning we're going to be looking at creative mind mapping. So we'll be right back after this. Well, hello everyone. This is Loelan, your host, and greetings to all my panel members out there. What's new with you this fine day? I hope it's going to be a finer day than it is right now. So let's begin as usual by doing some introductions so that everybody gets an opportunity to say something about where they are and what they do and any sort of important news or things that they're up to. So I might start us off by saying that in my coaching and consulting work, I love helping solopreneurs who want more from their business. And together we overcome that feeling of procrastination and overwhelm while bringing that business mastery plan into a joyful reality. So let's see, who shall I pick on this morning? I should do it in a slightly different order just to not pick on the same person every time, eh, David? So, Javita, how would you like to go first this morning?
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you, all of you. Namaste. I'm Jivita from India. I'm a Reiki master teacher and also a yoga teacher, and very pleased to be here.
Aha. So, anything new with you this morning? So, this is evening for you, I know.
Yeah. Nothing new actually. It's all routine today.
Nothing new. Okay. Well, I'm happy that you have joined us.
Thank you,
So,
Lauren.
yeah.
Very pleased to be here.
So, Alana, how about you? How would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm on deck. Hi everyone, Alana here from Ireland, and it's around just after 5 o'clock p.m. here. My blog is emptynester.blog.com, where I help people, empty nesters, make money with their online business, and I also have a company, ALB Digital Marketing Solutions. So I don't actually have anything new to report. Things are probably pretty status quo right now.
Ah, wow. But it's nice to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I noticed something new about you. I saw a posting, I think it was this morning, in Instagram from you.
You did?
I did.
Is it my bread?
Yes.
Was it the bread post?
Yes.
Yeah, my friends were going crazy over that bread. Actually, I was too. When we were traveling, we went through Roscommon and they had this walnut treacle bread. I had never heard of it before. And my friend asked for the recipe, and I never thought they'd give it up, but they did.
Whoa. Well, maybe
Yeah,
you'd
they
share.
did.
Maybe you'd share that with some of us because I've never heard of it either.
Yeah, and I've made it once. I forgot to add the oats, but it still came out okay. I'm going to make it again, and this time include the oats, and hopefully it'll look like what I saw at the hotel. So, yeah.
Oh, well, it's always fun to share recipes around.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy you're here.
Thank you.
Let's see. Vivek, how about you?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. Vivek Technology is my company. I believe in simplicity, so I want to keep everything simple so that it's easy to work with and use. So it is, yeah, as Alana said, it's just past 5 o'clock here in UK. It's a pleasant day today. It's quite sunny outside, and hope it's going to continue. So,
Anything new with you?
Not much is new, so things are going on as
Usual?
usual.
Well, I'm happy that you came, and Vivek is going to share his screen later on. So, in advance, I thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. David, how about you? Do you want to introduce yourself? You're muted.
Oh, I was unmuted all this time. Luckily, the dogs didn't bark. Anyway, I'm Dave Flannery with United Country Sauk Valley Realty and Affordable Websites for Small Business. We've had our weather is 50 degrees Fahrenheit today, but they're flipping the switch tomorrow.
Oh.
We go to 80 degrees tomorrow overnight, and it looks like we're going into summer because as far as I can see the forecast, it's going to be above 75, 80. And Vivek is kindly showing us the conversion.
Oh, let me see if I can white box that. You have to speak, Vivek, so that you'll show up.
Yeah.
Oh, there.
So, thank you for the conversion. I appreciate that. So,
Oh dear.
but things are going along fine. We're selling property and working on a new plan to get listings and getting that in the approval process right now. And I'm recruiting trying to get new business for my website business.
And you're putting together a new a new lamp,
Oh, yeah.
photography lamp.
I was trying to put together my photography lamp so I could get better lighting in here and hopefully eliminate my glare on my glasses. And I was having fun. A little more complicated than what they let on to be. So,
Right
but
on.
I'll figure it out. I'll get my duct tape out.
Yeah.
I won't
When
have
in
to
doubt,
use
eh?
official tape. I'll just have to use the 100-mile-an-hour tape. That's all. 'Cause I don't think we're going to get that much wind in here.
Right.
We've got now in the United States, we've got 200-mile-an-hour duct tape. That's how fast you have to go in order for it to blow off.
Oh, really? I never heard it.
It's a joke.
Oh dear. Well, duct tape it's got a lot of different uses.
Oh yeah. It's
What
used
was
for
it?
everything.
Yeah, it was.
This is what my daughter's saying. She made a video way back when she was in high school, 15 years ago, and she had a video of her making different things with duct tape. She made a skirt, she fixed a table, she fixed a chair, and then she fixed her brother by duct taping him into the chair. And her slogan was, "Duct tape is good for everything but the duck."
Oh, that's cute.
Yes.
Oh dear. There used to be somebody on TV that everything was about duct tape. Do any of the other Canadians remember that one? Was it Red Green?
It was Red Green.
Yeah.
I'll have to hunt him up on the YouTube later.
I don't know if you'd find him there. It was a long time ago, wasn't it, Fred?
Well, there's a lot of back stuff on there. I may not, but Try.
So, Fred, why don't you introduce yourself?
Certainly. I'm Fred Jones. I'm located very close to where Lolan is on Vancouver Island in Victoria on the west coast of Canada. It says it's about 4 degrees outside. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, it's warmer than that, I think.
Good, but
Yeah.
I just looked on the computer and it said 4 degrees. I thought, wow.
Oh.
And that has to be converted, but still, that's hopefully, I think it's going to be about 12 degrees today or something, if I recall. Anyway, I'm involved with coaching and helping young people learn the communication and leadership skills that they require to become, well, the leaders that our world needs. And there's some great examples like the young lady from Sweden, Greta Thunberg, who's got like millions of young people protesting about the environment. She's a great example. She's 16 years old, and I believe she's been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow.
Well, I'm not sure, but I read that some Swedish parliamentarians have done that. Who knows?
Oh,
Anyway,
nice.
just help them find their voice because they realize that the world needs some changes and they're not happy. So I'm trying to help them find their voice. A new exciting thing that happened to me on the weekend, I met with a group of people and discussed some of the approaches that I've been using over the last 15 years with young people, and they seem to be very interested. They were a few from Africa, a couple from Spain, someone from Taiwan, and we discussed youth programs. And as a result, I've been asked to come to Portugal, which is in September. So I'll be talking about it. And I'm already on the advertisement saying, hey, Fred Jones is one of the speakers. So that was exciting news for me. So I have to look for an airline ticket to Portugal in September. Yeah, it was very exciting weekend.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow. Is there going to be anything online that we could all follow?
I'm not sure what their plans are. This is their first annual convention, and they are in 70 countries. So that's the beauty of it.
Oh.
Including India. They are in India, Taiwan, anyway, 70 countries. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, this is their first international convention, and they're going to have speakers and so on. I'm now on the agenda, apparently. So that's wonderful.
Right on. I love it.
Congrats, Fred.
Say again, Javita?
Congrats, Fred.
Yeah. Congrats for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have to say, Fred, I enjoyed your article about forgiveness. Fred did a blog posting yesterday, was it?
It was yesterday.
Yeah. Right on.
Thanks for the comment.
Yeah, it was nice. So Nathan, what's going on with you this morning?
Trying to wake myself up. I made the mistake of not drinking enough water, so it just kind of knocked me out for a while. Just same old. I mean, well, not entirely. I met all my targets for selling packages, so I've decided to raise my price. But the other thing was actually a big breakthrough because I kept asking the question, how do I scale? How do I scale? And that finally came to me with the idea of taking much of what I do and turning it into a template along with detailed instructions that people can use. It's still not something that everyone's going to be able to use because I've found that some of the stuff that is old hat to me, second nature really, I'm finding that some of my clients are saying to me, I need help. I can't do this. And I'm just going, really? And so I'm having to do some virtual hand holding to help them get to where they want to go because they really don't understand what I'm saying to them, even with really detailed instructions, which I find surprising. So this week I've got 2 clients working that way. I had one last week. It's just helping them do what they need to do so they can get to the goal that they want to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're helping them. What are you doing? Using Zoom or?
Well, I would use Zoom for the conversation or Skype video. The idea is showing them 2 things. how to create a mind map.
Right.
And then once the mind map is done, how to take the information from that and use it in an outline to create an outline.
Right.
Because I'm discovering that even though my instructions were really detailed, people still don't understand it. So
yeah. Well, but you know what it is? I mean, I've discovered this a long time ago in my coaching work. The value is sometimes people need to hear themselves say things out loud. It is more powerful to them than when it's just running through their head.
yeah, that's exactly what one of my clients said to me.
Yeah.
She said she really needs that interaction. The other client too, and the third client. I'm just going,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Well,
the other piece about coaching is when they hear themselves saying they're going to do something and they're working with somebody, then there's a little accountability piece in there too.
cool.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lola.
So when they tell you that they're going to do something, especially if you're going to get together with them the next time, even though you're not putting the pressure on them, you might even just say, well, how did that go? They'd be embarrassed to say, oh, well, I didn't do it.
Well, I finished one session with a client last week, and he seemed to understand where we were going, but I wrote to him this morning and asked him, how do you feel about what we did? Was it helpful enough? And if not, happy to do another session with you, and we'll go through the entire thing.
Yeah.
So that you get what you want.
Yeah, it's a good idea to follow up. That's for
Agree.
sure.
I've been doing lots
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Loveland, can I add to what you just said? Saying things loud. I was other day watching a lecture by Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Lipton, yeah.
Sure.
He was talking about conscious mind and subconscious mind, and repeating something. What's the value of saying things aloud? He said he was saying that when you say something aloud, you're actually talking to your subconscious mind.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
When you repeat something over and over again,
Yeah.
it's actually to your subconscious mind. So
that's who I've been talking to all these years.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I think we've got everybody. I'm just checking to see if my I think we've covered everyone. So last week we were at the last end of our conversation, and I don't know whether it was in the recording or afterward, but when we were talking about putting processes into place, etc., we talked about the importance of making it visual, and that's when the mind mapping subject came up. And so I thought it would be sort of fun to explore mind mapping a little bit further. So, Nathan, you've already mentioned that you use mind mapping. I've used it, and I know that Vivek has used mind mapping. What about the others, David and Fred and Alana? Do you use mind mapping at all?
I used to use it all the time as an engineer. And we called it project management, but it was the same thing as mind mapping. The screen share that we had earlier, which we'll be showing later, we used to call that the fishbone diagram, because you would start out with a single line, and then you'd bring lines up and across and down, and it looked like, when you got done, it looked like the bones of a fish. And but it's all stuff that I've used. I started going through and mind mapping out what I'm doing with the last week after we got done with some of my websites and some of my clients, and it's helping. But I knew the flow anyway, and I knew the funnel anyway. Where I need it is more along the lines of what you're going to show us, which was the like what I used to call the fishbone diagram, where you would you put all your different, your resources on one page. You put or on one line, you put all of your just all your different stuff, and that would be more helpful to me and brings back old memories a whole lot.
So you're suggesting that mind mapping is really useful for project management.
Yes, and for like if you're developing a web page, or you're developing even a business, it's what you should be doing to be able to visually see where you're going to get stuff, how you're going to do stuff, and what you're going to use to do that, and it really helps a lot.
There's a fair bit to it that my mentor gave me years ago. Not actually a lot to it. It's more like if you're familiar with theater sports or the TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway? What you do when you're mind mapping is you're free associating. You let everything and anything come up. Wishful thinking, hopes, dreams, things that you think can never possibly happen. You write it all down.
Yeah.
And you do not censor yourself at all. If you censor yourself in theater sports, they call that blocking or wimping. And it interferes with the flow of what you do in a mind map. In my direct experience, a mind map only takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete.
Right.
And then afterwards, if you find some stuff in it that you really like, you could create a second mind map and drill down into some of those ideas.
A little bit further.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
in the same way with our project management, when you were in this phase,
Jay has just joined us.
yeah, I see him. Good morning, Jay.
Morning, Jay. When you get in, when you're doing the planning stage, you really need to not censor anything. The craziest ideas could lead to, the most brilliant way of getting things done. It may not that idea may not be used, but it would spawn other ideas.
Exactly. I agree. I mean, when I did a mind map years ago, my mentor wanted me to do that for building a writing career, but I was extremely focused. I knew exactly what I wanted. And even though I did the mind map, I focused on what I wanted. And I remember my mentor telling me one day, showing me a shelf of software, and he said, "You'll probably do better than me one day." And at the time, I thought he was full of it. Fast forward several years, I was in a relationship breakup. I had to get rid of all the software in my basement. I had 5 liquor store boxes full of it. I'm not joking. I just went, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Because it's what they call NFR, not for resale. I can't sell it.
Right.
So I had to break it all up and bust the discs and all that and then throw everything out. But I went way beyond my mentor, actually, much to my amazement, but I did.
So when you say free associating, I guess another term for that would be brainstorming. But
you could use it like that.
Well, because that's one of the rules of brainstorming, is that you just let it flow and you don't filter anything out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But you said something else that I thought is kind of interesting. Storyboarding. Like I think that the people who were creating movies or creating TV shows or radio shows or whatever, storyboarding must be a form of mind mapping as well.
Not really. It's part of the workflow that once you've got the mind map, once you know what the story is, they would use storyboarding to explain it in more detail. Like the way a storyboard works, it's a piece of paper, maybe 8.5 by, 5.5 by 8. Now at the top it has a little box, and that's where you put in your drawing, and then you put the notes underneath it. And so in terms of animation, I've worked in the animation industry, so I know how it works. You're fleshing out everything to do with the story in that board, whatever the characters are doing, however you're doing your presentation, what these people are going to say, assuming that you have the facility to draw. And if you don't, you can probably use some of the stuff online, some of the tools that are out there to help you create drawings. But the idea is to create a workflow which takes you from the very beginning all the way to the end. similar to an outline in a way, but not the same.
Right.
But the idea behind a storyboard is when you finish the storyboard and you're happy with it, you've essentially made your movie. And all you have to do is to actually do it. Now, the thing about the storyboarding, which is really important, same with the outline, is that that's when you find out what does and does not work. You can solve it on paper before you turn it into a digital document.
Right.
Super hugely important. There's also another program I'm going to mention briefly. It's called Scrivener. It's designed for writers, screenwriters, and so on. And what it allows you to do is create a virtual corkboard of ideas. One of the things that you can do is organize your topics into a tree on the left. And if you don't like the position of something in the tree, whatever the topic is, you just click on it, drag it to a new spot. Do that in MS Word? No way.
Oh.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Word won't allow you to do it.
No.
It's just impossible.
Yeah.
But for working for outlines, working with storyboarding, all that, it will work. It's really
How do you spell that?
Scrivener, Scrivener.
Yeah.
If I got that right.
So where this conversation seems to be going is, and that's the reason that I chose as a title, creative mind mapping, because it appears that the purpose of it and the best use of it is for you to bring out that creative part of yourself, and yet make it into a process. so yeah, it's and it's been around for a long time, hasn't it? Yeah. So Alana, what about you? Do you use mind mapping at all?
I'm not sure I'd call it mind mapping. Maybe it was mind mapping. When I was trying to do some content last year, I did a test where I took a main topic, put it in the middle of a page, and then just outlined my topics around that for the month that were similar, that were connected, but they, like, there was a major topic. I'm not making sense. There was a major topic, and then around that I had several different topics to write about. That's probably the closest I ever got to doing a mind map.
Okay.
It actually worked quite well.
Yes,
because at least I had 1 month's worth of content to write.
Yeah. It's so, and I might, from the way you describe that, I've made use of it when I'm trying to plan out a website. So I put the home page in the middle, and then I start mapping out what the website's going to look like. So yeah. So pulling out, again, it's a process for pulling out your ideas, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, my thought process tends to be pretty disorganized, so that probably is something I could really benefit from using if I could, sit down and wrap my head around it.
So that's a good thing. Organize our thinking.
It's not that hard, and for those of you here, if you want it, I've got a little thing that I wrote several years ago about how to use a mind map. It gives you an example.
Here's one that Vivek is sharing.
Yeah.
This is one that I asked him to show, because this has been created with iMindMap, and iMindMap is it's a downloadable software. So, but this one just it's just one that I was working on, and you can see how you can sort of plan out scheduling and targeting clients and pricing, etc. Oh yes, and you can move things around. Yeah. So, and the color coding is for me is really important. Somehow or other, color brings out more creative ideas or creativity for me. Yeah. So that's one software that is,
Color is more of a right brain activity, isn't
yes,
it? So
yes, it is.
the whole point of, as far as I know, the whole point of mind map is to engage your entire brain, not just a part of it, not just left side, which is the logical part, but the entire brain. So if your mind map is not colorful enough, then you're not engaging the right brain enough.
There is one other thing.
Crayons whenever I mind map.
Say again?
I said that must be why I still use crayons whenever I mind map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. The other thing, I just went to the site very briefly and saw that Tony Bozan was behind the creation of this. Tony Bozan is a memory expert, and he shows people how to remember better. There's a really interesting book on the topic if you want to check it out. It's called Moonwalking with Einstein. And it's not what you think. That's all I'll tell you.
Moonwalking with Einstein.
Moonwalking with Einstein.
Yeah.
You'll understand when you read the book. No spoiler alerts.
With Einstein. I wish somebody would put that in the comments on YouTube. Yeah. So, yeah. So this mind mapping, and this may be there may be a more up to date version. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what version this one was when I created it, but I might also say another use that I have used this iMind mapping for is when I in the coaching process, if I were working with somebody and we talked through maybe a plan for the future or a vision or whatever we were talking about, I would quite often go in and create a mind map like this and send it to them. And I always got incredible feedback about how useful that was to them, even though they hadn't created it, but it reflected the entire conversation that we'd had about something. So there's another usage that I made of it. Yeah. So let's see. Who else? Well, Jay, I know you demonstrated the use of another version last Friday night. So, and I certainly have used that one as well. It's called bubble.us, and it's in a kind of a way easier because it's an online version. You don't have to download anything. You can just go and sign up and create it. And I mean, that's what we talked about last week, about using a mind map to show our promotion funnel, which is really helpful to do. Yeah. So
Yeah. Can I just kind of jump in real quick and say a few things?
Sure.
So, I'm hearing a lot of people saying, you should use a mind map is for this, a mind map is for that. And I was a little tardy, so I don't know if this was already mentioned, but perhaps a definition of what exactly a mind map is. So I did you guys already cover that?
No, you can.
Oh, okay. So I looked up.
Did you Google it?
Yeah. Yeah, Wikipedia. So according to Wikipedia, a mind map is a diagram used to visually organize information. A mind map is a hierarchical and shows relationships among pieces of the whole. So that being said, I think a mind map can be used really for anything you want. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any kind of restrictions in terms of a mind map as to what it should and should not be used for. if it helps you get organized and it helps you kind of create a process and visually map out what you're trying to accomplish and end result, by all means, use a mind map. It doesn't, it could be something as simple as sticky notes, peppered across your desk, or it could be bubble. It could be that the software that Vivek was showing, right? It could be a whiteboard. It really doesn't matter in terms of the tool as to what you're using. Just make sure that it's something that you're comfortable using, and if you're comfortable using, I think Nathan mentioned that he used to use paper at one point, right? And so if someone's used to using paper to create some sort of flow chart, absolutely, more power to you. I don't think it really matters in terms of the tool, right? I personally, I like simplicity, so that's why I choose to use the bubble. And plus, it's not downloadable, meaning it's cross-platform. I can access it on my phone. I can show it in meetings. So it works really well for me. Right. So, and what works well for me doesn't always necessarily work well for other people. So, but that's really what I just wanted to mention was, the definition of what exactly.
And that's a great definition. It does. It says it all exactly what it's for. But I mean, my intent here was to explore all the different kinds of uses that we could use it for to support us in our work. So I was kind of curious, Fred, for example, in your blog posting, do you use something like a mind map before you do your writing?
Not really, Lauren, but I could mention, because you brought up different uses of mind mapping. When I was in Australia earlier this year, I attended a Toastmasters meeting, and a fella gave a very outstanding talk on a topic that was very complex, and he had a lot of detail, and he never used notes. So after I went up to him and I said, "How did you manage that? I've never seen anyone give such a vibrant, informative speech full of so many facts and details." And he pulled out a mind map, and he showed it to me afterwards, and he said, "I use that." And he said, "I learned this in university." And he mentioned what Nathan had said, Tony Buzan's books, because he's the inventor. He's known as the inventor of mind mapping. And he said at university, when he wanted to study a topic, he would do a mind map before the exams, and he could remember. And as I think Jay said, Tony Buzan, part of it is memory, but there's a lot of uses for it. And he said, that's where I learned this. And he said, when I walked into an exam, I had it all because I could visualize it, because it's a visual method of remembering things. And he said, that's where he learned. And wow, I was blown away when he pulled out the mind map of this speech. And I said, wow, I've never seen anyone use mind mapping that way. Sometimes in Toastmasters, when we're doing a speech, we'll do a mind map and all that.
Perfect.
But in his case, it was just, it just blew me out of the water when he pulled it out and said, there's my speech. One piece of paper, all the details. It was wonderful. So, yeah, there's so many uses for it, and that's what you just reminded me of. I had forgotten about that conversation I had until now.
Wow.
There is another important aspect about this whole stuff, which you'll read in Moonwalking with Einstein if you choose to look at it. These guys make use of something called a memory palace, where they assign different meanings to different objects in a place and then use it for memory. It's extremely effective. I went through the book, studied it. It was quite amazing. But it's the kind of thing that one could use to help write a speech. So when I did a speech a while ago, I did a kind of a word association with it, which is like the mind exercise. I did different associations, and when I did that, it was really easy for me to organize it in my mind so that I was able to go through it seamlessly. And when I did my actual talk, I was in the zone. Everything was perfect and went like clockwork because of what I did. And it's It's something else to do with memorization. And if you use it as part of your process, it may or may not be applicable. It may not be applicable, but if it is, it can help you a lot.
So what I mean, where we seem to be going with this is that it's part of like a mind exercise, a brain exercise. I mean, as Vivek said, it's a way of engaging both sides of your brain simultaneously. It's fascinating, isn't it, to think about all the different ways that we can apply it, and how it brings out so much more than if we were just sitting and trying to figure out what we're going to do. Yeah. So, Javita, do you use mind mapping at all? You're muted.
Yeah, now I have started using it. I have not really used to it, but now I have started using it.
And what do you experience from it?
I think I get more organized with these things, mind mapping. You get your ideas very clear, and you can put it out down on on paper. You can put it down in the this mind mapping.
Yeah. I remember one time participating in maybe it was an online workshop of some sort, where everybody was invited to just have a table in front of them and use Post-it notes. And so everybody just kept writing ideas on Post-it notes and threw them out on a table, and then rearranged them in certain ways, etc., etc. And that, as Jay was mentioning, that can be just as effective as using any other software. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So Vivek, you showed us just very briefly a mind map that you had used. You want to talk about that?
Yes. I actually had created, this was I think a couple of years ago, I had created a series of YouTube videos. And David might find this interesting, what I'm sharing here on the screen. This talks about Prince 2. Prince 2 is a projects in controlled environment. It's a UK government recognized qualification. If you want to take up a government project, you have to be Prince 2 qualified.
Woo.
So you have to get the projects in controlled environment certification. So this is what I'm showing here is actually was used in a series of, I think it was 13 or 14 episodes of classes, or whatever you want to call them, where I shared my knowledge, experience of Prince. And each of them had a mind map like this. This one is a mind map where I explain the processes that are involved, that are used in the Prince 2 project management. You start with a project board. Their main task is directing. That's a process. Directing is a process. Then you do the beginning, as in, you start up the project. And there is another process called as initiating the process. You imagine a large organization. You have to send out notes to all different departments saying that so-and-so project is now started. these people would require resources from you and so on and so forth. So all that. So that is initiating. Next would be stage boundary. You have a different stages, and you have to manage the boundaries of the stage. And then you control each stage. You manage the product delivery. These three things are part of the project manager's job. So, and then it comes to closing. You close the project, and probably you go back to, that's where this dotted line is, go back to this point where maybe you have completed only one stage of the whole project. So you start with these three things, and then go back to that and start all over again. So going back through this. So
it's interesting that the dotted line, how it connects everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Similar to Six Sigma. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah.
But that uses more statistics than what you're using here. But that's another.
What I'm showing is just one part of the whole. I mean that whole series is there on YouTube. If anyone, my channel, I presented the whole thing, and so
wow.
I think that whole thing is called as Prince 2 for small businesses, if I remember correctly.
So yeah, and that's kind of going back to David's initial comment about project management and fish boning. So yeah, it's cool. So we've all sort of used used it for various things, all having to do with organizing and being creative. So, and we've mentioned two different ways that two different electronic ways, and we've mentioned a couple of paper and pencil or ways of using it. Is anybody aware of any other sort of online ways of doing mind mapping? I was trying to. Sorry?
Alana.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alana.
I happened, before we went online, I did a little Google search on mind maps, and I came across a site called Vengage, VENNGAGE, and they do mind maps as well as other things. So there's infographics, presentations. Can I show you my screen here?
Oh, sure, please.
Let's see if I can do that.
Oh my. Look at that.
This is something I came across, and I haven't really, I think there's a free version here, but it has a lot of different categories that I thought was quite interesting, because you have reports, diagrams, charts, and then further down it gets into more detailed types of things that I don't really think are necessarily mind maps. I think they're just additional features.
Oh, look at that. Good. There's everything in there.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know if it's free, or I think there might be a free version. I'll just check and see. Okay. So there's a free version for students. So it gives you 5 infographics, branding.
We're all students of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. Unfortunately, they want proof. They'll want proof of that. Yeah, so unfortunately, even with the free plan, you really only get 5 infographics. You don't really start to benefit unless you want to pay $19 a month for a few other features. But yeah, that's just something that I came across I thought might be interesting.
it looks like it's got almost everything that you would ever use in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that, you know, you have to be a student to use it, and it's almost a moot point to show it to you because it's really can't be used by us, unless you want to pay for it, of course, but it's not free.
All right. Interesting. Well, and so I'm kind of interested also in something that Nathan, that you mentioned when you were talking about working with that client, of helping him sort of work with the creation of a mind map and then taking it forward. Can you talk about that transition? How does that work?
Well, the first stage of writing a book would be a mind map. If somebody doesn't have a good grasp of their topic, the very first thing would be to do the mind map and see what comes up. And then it's looking at the various ideas and decide how you would want to put that into a book. So like Jay was talking about post-it notes earlier. You can do it with post-it notes, you can do it with 3x5 recipe cards. I've done both. And the idea is to start mapping out the outline, because an outline, if you think of it like a map, it's between where you are and where you want to go. So if you were to go on a trip, you would use your GPS these days, but it would plan out everything on the trip as to where to turn, where to stop, where the police are, how to avoid them, different things like that. The outline is doing the same thing. And you would have chapter heads of the most important points and then subheadings. And I've never needed to go more than one down, but some people might want to go deeper than that. But the idea behind it is that once you get the outline done, then you've, in a sense, you've already written the book, and all you need to do is execute it, however you do that.
So I was interested in, because this is taking us a little bit off topic, but I've been playing with a WordPress plugin called, what the hell is it called? Learn Dash. That's what it's called. And it was, and what it does is it allows you to put a course right on your website, is what it's used for. But I was interested in the way that all of the instruction came up about it, in that it was recommended that you, if you're creating a course, that you mind map the course, and then you create an outline, so you put it into sort of more linear, in a more linear way, and then you go onto your website and you put that outline. It all goes in first, and then once you've got that, it's like putting a structure in place. And then once you've got that done, you go in and you enter all of the content for each one of the modules and or topics and so forth. So there was another example of taking things from a mind map and into something else, like creating a course.
That's essentially how it works. It's pretty straightforward. A lot of people need to complicate it. Yeah. But it really isn't that way.
Yeah, and I just followed the instructions and got it done. So I mean, there are lots of different software around that make use of those concepts. There's no question about that. So can anybody think of any other, you said mapping a journey, so can anybody think of any other use that you might make of mind mapping? Fred?
I have an interesting, I've been cleaning out boxes of photos and everything, and I came across a diagram similar to mind mapping. And I think it's a wonderful exercise. And I did it a while back, and I'm I was actually scrambling here looking for, because I just came across it last night when I was going through old photographs. And it's going through your life with all the people who influenced and you met. For example, from your childhood, and you say, who are your friends and your school friends? And then you go through where you work and the people you met and your family and relatives and all the people in your life that have impacted. And it's amazing because you're bringing out back people you've never thought of for years. And it is actually the most amazing exercise that I've done for a long time. So I wanted to find it again because I just put it aside last night. Now I can't find it somewhere here. But you just reminded me, I can assure you, you will remember about people and in the places that you've been in your life and that you haven't thought about for years. And it just brings back how many people have influenced you and affected you one way or the other. Mm. It is one of the most interesting exercises I can assure you to do. And there's an example of how mind mapping can blow your mind, so to speak, because you say, wow, I never realized there were so many people that I've known over the years. Especially as you're old as me, there's lots that you've
Yes, and if you're anything like me, I mean, I remember, suddenly I'll remember somebody that, was part of my life way back when, and then I'm going, what the heck was that person's name? I can see the face. I can't pull out the name. So I think I was doing that yesterday, and I ended up going back into Facebook and looking at all my friends in Facebook and thought, oh, there's her name.
Just put a little icon at first. That's something you remember. They had purple hair or whatever.
Right.
However, it is an amazing exercise. I can assure you, it's something that if you really want to get the power of mind mapping, so to speak, just try that.
Right.
You reminded me about many things. This is a wonderful topic.
Well, I can visualize you're trying to write your life story or your memoirs or whatever, and you could maybe use each branch as a kind of a phase in your life, and then branches off of that. Yeah.
It's quite remarkable how many people do come to mind that you haven't thought of for decades or years. Mm-hmm. You realize, wow, I wonder what that was all about. Anyway, it's a great exercise. And there's so many things that mind mapping can be used for, but and we've covered some of them, but you just got to go and look up, and they'll give you a dozen different places where it's applicable, including what's been mentioned, like project management, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. brainstorming sessions, even meetings, making decisions, planning, mm-hmm. What you want to do with your book or your speech or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then of course memorizing, like the fellow mentioned, that's how he did very well in his exams at university.
Wow.
It's a great topic because it's a great reminder that it's a wonderful tool.
Mm. Yeah. So I see we're at the top of the hour already. How did an hour go by so fast? So does anybody have any parting comments that they would like to leave us with in terms of mind mapping?
Just do it.
Yeah. Yes, just do it.
More wackier the mind map looks, the more memorable it is.
It's funny, Jane. I thought the same thing, and you beat me to it.
Oh, dear. Well, it's been an interesting conversation this morning, and thank you all. And I want to, perhaps that's one thing I ought to do, just because I want to bring in the YouTube comments. So just so that it becomes part of the video. You can see that David has been very diligent about finding all the things that we were talking about and entered them into the live comments in YouTube. but we've discovered that when you go back to watch the video, there has to have been a lot of different people posting in the comments for them to show up in the replay. So that's why I'm bringing the comments into the video itself so that people can kind of see what was there. Because myself and David are the only two that have commented, so it's probably not going to come up if anybody does a replay of the video. So at least that's what I think. I mean, we haven't ruled out some other things.
Yeah. So all the panel members, go on, put a comment in there.
Yes, they should.
Go on.
So anyway,
Otherwise, none of David's work.
Yeah. Well,
I copied it this time. The last time I did this, it didn't show up, so I copied it this time so that I have a record of it, because I wanted to go back and look at some of the links that I put in there, and I go, oh man, they're gone.
Yes, and
That's because last time we saw at least 2 or 3 people have to comment there. Only then it seems to appear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just goes away.
Yeah. So
Funny.
but it's now in the last end of the video. So.
Okay.
So let's see, what do I want to do? I want to go back to live just to say a pleasant farewell to everyone with a reminder. It's important to do what you love with passion, and we shall see you next week. So bye for now.